What's up, guys? Wanted to talk about John Jones and Israel Adesanya. The beef and the possible matchup for them. It's an intriguing thing. It puzzles me a little bit. What's going on with those two fighters? Um, Particularly where they are in their careers right now. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense why they want to meet up. Um, they both got agendas, you could say. I would say they both got very important agendas in their particular spot in MMA, in the MMA sport right now. I would say John Jones is potentially there to become one of the greatest ever if he goes to heavyweight and works his way up, maybe taking one fight before he faces Stipe Miocic. Although I'm sure UFC would give him a quick title fight if he really pushed for it. I'm sure that Stipe wouldn't say no to it. Him being the light heavyweight champion, that John's being the light heavyweight champion that basically cleaned out his whole division. He, he left his title, he gave it away, and with the purpose, he said that he was going to heavyweight. So that's an awesome thing because John, he's a big guy, and I would say at this time in his life, cutting weight to 205, maybe he's not that appealing to him anymore, and going to heavyweight is the natural transition for him. So I think he has an agenda, he has a path that he could follow and make good on it. How badass would it be for him to go to heavyweight and possibly defeat Stipe Miocic, the greatest heavyweight in UFC history as it stands right now, Another guy, Stipe, he cleaned out the heavyweight division. He's there, he's the king. John Jones could go and dethrone that king. That would be an amazing story. And Israel Adesanya, he's different. He's in a different path. His story is different. His pathway to things is different. His agenda right now is different. He is the middleweight champion. He hasn't cleaned out that division. He's undefeated. Comes from a kickboxing background. He's on a tear right now. He's winning his fights. Again, he's undefeated. And I think he has a lot of good challenges still in that division. Being the champion, the middleweight champion, he should focus on the middleweight division part of things. That's just my view. That's my personal view. I know that UFC media, MMA media, they tend to go crazy with potential matchups and crossing over champions and super fights and all this. And it puzzles me, it baffles me that Jones keeps looking down at the middleweight champion being Adesanya, and picking up Twitter wars with him, getting personal with him. It's just crazy because John Jones, that's the fact. The fact is John Jones is the bigger guy. He's bigger, physically bigger than Israel Adesanya. We're talking about a bigger man picking on a smaller man and challenging him and saying, I'm gonna beat your ass and I'm gonna do this to you, and where does that come from? I'm not clear on it. Is it envy because of Israel? Because Israel did it faster than Jones did it. Another thing is Jones, the fact of the matter is he's been busted for PEDs several times. Israel has not been busted that way. Uh, it could very well happen in the future, but as it stands right now, Adesanya's record is clean, and he's undefeated. He's doing it better than Jones did it, because Jones, there's a lot of controversy on his legacy, on his run as the light heavyweight king. So it just, I don't understand where the beef comes from. Adesanya being Adesanya, he's also, I think he's getting distracted. He's looking focused, looking at Jones. And it's this posturing thing that these fighters start doing on Twitter, and it's like they can't help it. It's whatever happens to, meeting up man to man and talking things out. I think that would be best, if Jones and Adesanya got together face to face, talked it out, and if they really want to fight each other, have their management call Dana White and say that they really want that fight. It makes no sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. Because, like I said, as I've been pointed out, they're both in different paths right now. They're both in different stages in their career. And they shouldn't be meeting. They shouldn't be challenging each other. They should stay in their own lane as it is. Don't you guys think about that? I mean, that's the way I see it. I know it's exciting. I know a fight between them would be awesome to watch. I admit it. I'm an MMA fan. Ultimately, if the fight ever happened, I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to watch it. Of course, I'm going to watch it. But it just hurts their careers more. Specifically Adesanya. If Adesanya loses to Jones, that's a potential cash cow. That's a cash cow that UFC loses, because they have the middleweight champion. And what are you doing letting your middleweight champion fight basically a heavyweight, and one of the best fighters in the world, bigger fighter, beat your champion at middleweight? It hurts his credibility. It hurts his invincibility that he has at middleweight right now, and it brings chaos and disorder to the order of things, to the sport, because you have this champion versus former champion fighting each other when they really shouldn't be fighting each other. I don't know. That's just my view. That's how I see it. And those are my 2 cents. I don't think the fight makes sense. Not at this point anyways. I think Adesanya should stay in his lane. I think he should focus on his division, dominating his division, cleaning out his division, and getting better. Right now is not the time for him to be looking for super fights, because he's not that dominant yet. He still has challengers in that division that could give him a run for his money. And Jones, he gave up his light heavyweight championship. It's time for him to, why isn't he pushing for a heavyweight champion? Why isn't he looking up and trying to accomplish something greater than defeating Adesanya? I don't think it does anything for him to go and face Adesanya, a smaller guy, and beat that smaller guy. And even worse is Adesanya beating him. That's another thing, letting your legacy end that way, a middleweight beating your ass. I don't know. It's just, I see more damage than more losses than wins in that scenario. Thanks for listening to me, guys. Let me know what you guys think about this, and give me likes, dislikes, and peace. Thanks for watching.